Hello, I'm Sami.
I'm Cleo.
And we're very excited because we're going on our first Advanced Bobath Course next week at Shrewsbury Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So the course has got a focus on optimising upper limb function. So we're currently in clinic, having a cup of tea and starting our vlog, chatting to you, and just getting excited. We feel ready for the challenge of an advanced course, and very excited about a specific upper limb element, because I think the upper limb is, I think for most physios would probably say it's probably a challenge, more so the upper limb, but also I think really interesting, so fascinating, the upper limb, and so important for the patient functionally. A lot of patients will say if they've got upper limb or lower limb weakness that it's the upper limb that frustrates them the most and bothers them the most, and I think we've got lots of patients that upper limb is really affected by, so I'm really excited about learning more and deepening our knowledge and using the Bobath framework to improve our patients, literally upper limb function, but everything else as well, the importance that it plays, definitely. I feel like that's one of my goals would be to learn more about the stability around the shoulder. I think that's definitely a weaker area, like scapular instabilities. I think ranging from someone that's more posturally low tone, perhaps sort of looks painful, and like you say, like aiding around body schema and that importance of that, right through to someone that's higher level though as well, and strength training around the scapula to improve upper limb function as well. Someone higher level, I find that quite tricky as well. Progressing treatment of someone, keeping it interesting and varied with someone higher level as well.
That is true. Because I think like when something is really out of place, it's obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I find it really hard to analyse and identify deficits when it's subtle. So
and in the time as well, in the time frame, just I feel like I could do it, but it'd take me an hour to look at the scapular position.
But
there's the treatment session gone. So I'm more slick at it, and more fluent and confident.
Because when we're doing joint sessions, when you're watching one of the tutors look at it and go, oh, this is wrong and this is where it's kind of rotated or protracted, and I'm like, okay,
I want to be the one to say that.
Anyway, so we're excited.
Yeah.
So we hope to meet up. Well, we'll be on the course together, but want to sit down either midway or at the end of the course and reflect on what we've learned in the week, and then also catch up a bit further down the line and see how we're actually applying some of the knowledge that all of the knowledge that we've learned. Okay, so we'll see you soon.
Over and out.
Bye.
Cheers! We've survived 2 days! Yay! So we thought we'd come for a sit and just a bit of a chat and a reflect on our last few days. We've had a very busy few days. So we've had a few lectures relating to scapular control and anatomy and positions of scapula. And what was our lecture yesterday? The pathways. We've got it already. The pathways and the main ones affecting the upper limbs.
So
that was most of it, wasn't it?
Our idea was to vlog every day, but not sure how possible that's going to be because the days are quite long while we're there, and obviously after the session's over, you kind of just want to get home,
get an ice cream.
But so apologies for not vlogging yesterday. But we thought day 2 we can reflect on what's happened yesterday and today. So the structure of it generally is that at the beginning of the day, the first thing that we do is have a keynote lecture, and that is generally based around the topic that we're going to be focusing on within that day, and then that's followed by a patient demonstration. So a selected patient from the host hospital or whatever picks an appropriate patient for that topic, and the tutors will demonstrate a treatment session with that patient and go through it really nice and steady with us as a group. After that, we discuss it as a group and then have lunch, and then straight after lunch we have patient treatment sessions where us as a group are paired off and we have a patient each to treat. And so the first one yesterday was assessing the patient, and we have the same patient then for the rest of the week, and work with the same partner for the rest of the week. So we document. then have a cup of tea, reflect a bit, and then after that there's another practical session, but that is just with us as a group, so no external patients or anyone external coming in. It's just us practicing on each other, and the tutors will demonstrate on one of us and explain, and then we go off and practice. So it's really nice. It's a really nice structure, isn't it?
Really nice, yeah. Day goes really quick.
Yeah, and our tutors have been lovely, haven't they?
Been really
so we've got
nice.
Sue Armstrong and Helen Linfield,
Yeah.
and both of them really, really good. So we're happy. Yeah. So we talk about our key learning then from
the last 2 days. We've done 2
Yeah.
days of the course, and the main things that have really hit us so far. I think we had a quick chat before, didn't we?
Yeah.
And said that one thing that was just massive was just that we're on an upper limb course, but the emphasis on everything else is just massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just about the arm, treating the arm in isolation. It's about the whole kinetic chain, and anything we've done practically wise it's always been like start the feet, look up, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's never been straight to the arm.
even when they try to, like even when in the demonstrations when they're trying to specifically look at the shoulder girdle or
Yeah.
the reach, like both Sue and Helen often kind of divert to other parts of posture because you have to.
Yeah.
And it's like in one of the lectures, I remember Sue was saying about you cannot separate the upper limb from the trunk because they're so involved, and because of the anatomy of the scapula on scapular-thoracic joint, that there's a relationship between the two. So, and then because the scapula is very much influenced by the pelvis, and the pelvis by the kind of hips and knees, and then feet, you kind of have to work upwards.
Yeah,
don't
and
you?
in standing, what's the thing that's in contact with the floor is the feet. So everything's involved.
Yeah, and they're just, it's a dog, and just generating the extension upwards from the feet. So that's been good. And as we were talking on the way here, we're like, a lot of it wasn't new to us, so a lot of it so far isn't new, but it's definitely been great to remind us, because a lot of things, like I'd be kicking myself because I think, damn, why don't I think about that more?
And deepening our understanding and knowledge, hasn't it?
And getting more
Definitely.
specific.
Yeah.
And so I feel like up till now, I feel like I've learned lots of different treatment ideas and different postural sets that I can work in and out of, but I'm not really focused. So in terms of like, only in reflection can I see that. Like I think, I feel like I need to really go in one focus and work in and out of that posture, rather than
the importance of that.
rather than kind of flick between. And I think at the moment I go of this mindset that, okay, whatever handling I do, I'm not going to cause harm. But I think one of the tutors said at the beginning is like, you're not going to cause harm by doing it, but you can give the patient better.
Yeah.
Like, and so I think that's maybe what this course is doing for me. It's making me think, okay, I could be more succinct and more focused, and probably achieve that maybe the same outcome but quicker.
Yeah, I already feel like I could be more fluent and confident and effective with what I've learned already so far.
Definitely.
Even though it isn't necessarily all new, just deepening everything, my understanding, definitely.
Yeah. So for example, a massive part of what they talk about, that they've talked about the last 2 days, is body schema. So again, like we talk about that all the time in clinic. I talk about it all, like nearly with every patient, about what body schema is, the importance of body schema, but actually getting down to it and refreshing it in our heads about what it is and how you can influence it has been
definitely
good for me.
I think we were chatting before as well, weren't we, that it's not just necessarily patients that are affected with sensory problems and proprioceptive problems, obviously, but it affects everyone. If someone's not moving their arm so well, then their body schema is not going to be so good.
Yeah.
So if you're not moving something, then you're not going to be quite as aware of it. It's not going to be as prepared for action.
Yeah.
So every patient can benefit from improving their body schema, really.
Definitely. And I think a key point for me from yesterday, from the patient demo, was how much focus Sue and how much time Sue spent on the ipsa lesional side, so the non-effective side, which was clearly affected with the amount of fixing, and the fixing wasn't obvious to me when the patient came in. I didn't notice it, and it's only when Sue was actually trying to take his arm off the plinth that you could see him becoming less stable, and it made me realise, oh, I need to go back and test that with a lot of my patients. That could, I think, probably because you can see the obvious pushes, can't you, or the obvious fixes, like the ones that really struggle with the ipsa lesional side, but the subtle ones, because this gentleman, the patient demo guy, is fully independent, back to work, isn't he? And he's got a really physical job, and so he's managing, but he doesn't have a great sense of walking or stability. Like, he has fallen at work and things like that. So it's interesting to unpick the problems that he had, and actually a lot of it was stuff that I would have maybe skipped past. So that was good. She spent quite a long time looking at that ipsa lesional side, didn't she?
Definitely.
So that was a key point for me, and how that affects body schema.
Definitely. I think with linking with body schema as well, I found like the words you use and the verbal cues with things. So just a reminder that the scapula is not cortically driven, and asking a patient to set their scapula is not going to happen. So the importance of the proprioception and hands-on, I found a really good reminder.
Yeah. The
importance of that linking in with body schema, and just some of the terms we were using for really. I think that the demo patient as well was really overusing his shoulder, wasn't he, to initiate a reach, and trying to get him to initiate from more distally. So just simple cues of hand to start with, wasn't it, initially, to build up, as the representation of his hand was not so good. So being less specific and just saying hand, but then as body schema improved, being more specific with the verbal cues, keeping it simple still, but more specific. So fingers, wrist,
breaking
elbow,
it down,
breaking
distal,
it down. I like that.
Yeah.
But,
No, that is a good point. That's something from today as well, where we looked a little bit about the role of the feet, and how she said, right, think about your toes and then your ankle, and
same
like
principle.
Same principle. So that's been good. And then you were saying about how the patient was fixing with his eyes, and we didn't, and we both of us were saying we didn't immediately pick that up. And I honestly, I don't think I would have picked it up.
No.
And because he was looking around, like, so when he came in, he was did notice he did look round, and he was
he was looking at people, and he could tend to that arm, thinking about it was probably when prompted more.
It was more when Sue was taking him into a more challenging posture. You could then see how he was fixing his eyes onto a target, and using that as a strategy to gain stability. Whereas actually, when she took that vision away, he had much more postural sway, and you could see the instability in his trunk. So she showed us a nice way of eliminating that, or like through, what did she call it?
It was,
when she kind of got him to close his eyes and refocus
to attend to an object. That one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it wasn't stop, shut eyes, and then the object had moved somewhere else to then find it and reach for it. So stopping the fixing with the eyes, but also attending better to a meaningful object. So that was quite a simple one, really, and it totally makes sense, but I think you can apply that to so many patients. I think.
Definitely.
So many of our patients are reliant on their eyes, aren't they? So I really like that one.
That was a good one.
Good. And we said as well the strength to length, didn't we?
Strength to get length.
Strength to get length.
Like that one.
Like that. Easy to remember.
So, for example, it's talking about that agonist and antagonist pairs, wasn't it? Of like how that is actually a key learning point for me, is using movement more to get length. Because I do find at the beginning of the session I spend a bit of time doing modulation and alignment work, and quite passively,
probably a bit passively stretching,
bit chatty,
a bit too chatty. That's another thing we've learned. More focus on the sensory
getting
work.
The patient needs to attend to what you're doing, to focus. but then so using more active postures to get length, and like, so for example, if you've got tight
use
triceps,
biceps,
so
won't we?
tight biceps,
Weak triceps.
So what you're doing is actually trying to encourage triceps activity, triceps contraction, which would then elicit the stimulation to eccentrically lengthen the biceps, isn't it? And the importance of repetition.
Yeah, just working through that range and building it up.
Yeah.
So small ranges and timing and just building up that activity.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we've seen that quite a few times.
Yeah.
Which we've obviously seen before as well.
Yeah.
But just that that reminder, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, which has been really good. That's definitely a learning point for both of us, isn't it?
Like in the treatment session, you're kind of making sure that you're getting a positive outcome from it. So I find like sometimes I get so directed by the patient because I want them to feel a positive outcome from the session. So I'm kind of targeting everything. And actually maybe I'm not being as effective.
But I think this gives us more confidence to persuade the patient or show them that, if we do work on your foot position, that will help you out. And just those links. More the confidence to do that.
On
more creative.
On the plus side, it has been nice because, as did we say it before, like as in nothing is new for us, like, and that's been nice because I just think actually
reassuring when you look back at what you've done with some patients, like, oh, I did do that, that's good.
And it makes you
wasn't
think,
totally wrong.
And it's just having that reinforcement of like, what you're doing is good, and but maybe just a bit more like giving yourself reasons why it's been good and what you're actually doing from a neurophysiological point of view. So anyway, oh no, my face has been there. My face looks massive.
You've got to sit back. That's the key. No, that's my dirty. Get in front. Bye. Just reporting back, aren't we, of our week of learning.
So it's
on the
Friday.
Advanced Bobath course.
Last day, wasn't
Last day.
it? Scone. We had scones, tea and scones today.
Yeah.
It was lovely.
That was good.
So I guess like today we'll just go through our general learning points of the whole week.
Oh, I particularly really enjoyed the distal to proximal connection. So we're well aware that if we build up proximally, so work on our postural stability in our core, that can help develop better distally, but just the other way around. So the links, you tapping into that distal hand function to facilitate more stability further up. I particularly really enjoyed that. Working with more open fingers, that long arm, that reach to provide better stability further up. And I really noted that with the patient that we worked with this week. Was quite weak in his shoulder, really weak, some subluxation and some scapular winging and instability, but had a really nice hand to work with, so we really tapped into that. And as soon as we recruited better extension through his hand and really involved the hand and made it more functional, we got better stability further up.
So that was understanding that you're kind of tapping into the corticospinal system a lot more to give a more of a need to switch on, and like give you more postural control and postural activity for stability,
motivation.
The motivation,
and the sensory feedback. It's corticospinal's really lots of sensory. So giving that back, I think really helped him, my patient particularly, because he had some sensory issues definitely. So that really helped.
So. Working distally to really get the hand shaped, for pre-shaping, for the contact shaping, is it, of the object in the hand, and making that appropriate and really working into that distal aspect will give more of a drive for those postural muscles to switch on.
So they need to switch on.
Yeah.
To provide that stability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it.
Like it.
Thank you. We'll definitely be doing more of that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I liked as well? Ribs. They're my new favourite thing. I don't think I've paid enough attention to rib position. Always thought about scapula moving around thorax, but not so much about the relationship between the two. So what position is the thorax in? So it's always been about scapular position, but actually what position is the thorax in, and how mobile is the thorax. So if we've got a really stiff flex thorax, then we're never going to be able to get the scapula in as good a position as we could. So working on the mobility around ribs, and that
and also,
did have an effect with the patient we worked with as well, which was nice.
Yeah, our guy was really flexed in, and I started with mobilising at the ribs, and I started with thinking, right, I need ribs forwards, but then that, I think what I found out was restricting that was because when we took him into reclined sitting, we could see how short his abdominals were, and then how, especially kind of up by the sternum, it was really tight, and that was pulling him into flexion. And so no matter how much I was mobilising at ribs, I wasn't going to free up this flexion at the trunk. So it then forces you to look down the kinetic chain, isn't it, and find out, okay, well, what's interfering with that, and what's interfering with that, and blah blah. So and so by us kind of working into abdominals, we can get ribs more kind of forwards.
More length in abdominals.
Length in abdominals,
which it's usually that we need more activity in abdominals, which I'm sure you did need as well, but that's
in a different way.
Needing to get length first to activate. Same with our new favourite muscle, triceps.
We love a tricep.
We love triceps now as well, and it's always about getting more activity in triceps, but actually sometimes they might need a bit more length in triceps to then get more activity in it.
Long-headed triceps.
Long-headed triceps, that's our new favourite muscle.
Yes. I mean, it's same as anything, isn't it? The more you do it, the more it will make sense to you. Like Sami and I were saying, like a lot of the time we do things because we know we should do, and it feels like we know we did it before and it felt good that time, or we've seen Claire do it, seen Sue do it, Helen, we position our hands here because we've been told that's where it's supposed to be, but actually it's really made us think a bit more about why we're doing it and what we're trying to achieve.
Constant reassessment and what next? What am I doing? Why
taking
am I doing
our time.
Taking time, not worrying about that and not stressing about it, and just be calm. And enjoy
and give time for the patient to respond to your handling, and B, for you to understand that, to think, right, what are my hands actually doing?
But this links in as well with we were saying about compensations, like upper fibres of traps working over time, and us being like, oh, we need to move, we're in the wrong postural set, we're getting all these compensations, but actually keep going with it a little bit, and does those compensations ease off? And upper fibres of traps do need to work in some cases, so that's fine. It's just, well, is it getting better? Not just automatically thinking it's all going wrong, we need to change postural set, just to give it a bit of time, see if these things are working, or alter the range we're working in. Just even slightly, I found that with our patient today, so even slightly going too far with the range really did alter what was working in his shoulder. So that was quite important as well, not to be too put off, and to keep going. Right, a bit actively as well. Rather, I think we'd be a bit static in modulating a muscle, but actually then taking that muscle through range where it will go, and then building up.
And then work on the next bit, and then move, and then do work on the next bit, and then move. So I mean, you could do that in every posture. It doesn't mean taking them in and out of, say if you're in supine or whatever, it doesn't mean okay, get them up and start doing. You can still do dynamic things in lying, can't you? And just being a bit more creative and a bit more dynamic in the sessions. A bit less chatty. That's
more attention.
A big thing. Like how
I think the sensory element's been really,
the patient needs to attend to the upper limb, attend to the hand, and for them to really kind of drive it home to them what you're working on.
Because we've seen patients that aren't necessarily presenting with primary sensory problems have still got some learnt non-use and inattention to that limb. So the sensory aspect is just massive, and I think that's a big thing I've learned.
Yeah.
On Monday, Tuesday for you, when we're back at work, is having the upper limb as a primary focus for all treatment.
Yeah.
Including it for everything. So really thinking about, even if it's just having better contact and placement, using it as part of our treatment. Because I think sometimes if we're thinking we're targeting the lower limb, I think we can sometimes forget about placing the arm. I think we do a lot, we do it, but I don't think we're including it as much as we could. But I think what we've got from it is, if we treat the upper limb, then we've seen changes further down the kinetic chain as well.
It kind of, I feel like if I make it a habit to go into every treatment session looking at what the upper limb is doing, then it kind of forces you to look down the kinetic chain, especially like now, having done this. Like in the past, I know that the upper limb is important. I know it's connected to everything, but I wouldn't really have it in my head as habit to look down the kinetic chain, whereas I think I will now.
Yeah, you will.
Because we did a lot of it this week. Like, okay, we talked a lot about the kinetic chain and about how that influences the upper limb. And so by going into a treatment session, by going into assessments, like thinking, right, upper limb, what's it doing? And then it tells you to go down the chain. Whereas I think if you focus on lower limb, there isn't as much drive to then go up to the upper limb, back down again. It's not as systematic, is it, to do it that way? So
I think it makes you a lot more functional thinking about the upper limb as well. Like I work a lot in step standing, with working on weight transference for lower limb strengthening and balance, but just adding in an upper limb reach, which I sometimes do, but I don't think I do enough to add that more functional element in, while you're obviously strengthening right through the kinetic chain. And
no, it's good.
It makes it far more functional. Why would you stand to transfer weight?
Yeah, if you're
obviously
not
it's part of
anything.
walking, but it's that would be very functional for a reach, wouldn't it?
Well, the thing is, like, if you're adding a reach to the step stance, it will encourage APAs much more.
Yep.
Because you're getting a cortical drive. Is that right? Like you're giving a purpose.
Yeah.
So you're adding a different dimension to your walk, and then switching on your core a lot more because of it, rather than just step standing with no kind of end point to it. You're not switching on your core as much as you would do if you introduce an upper limb to it. So it was a brilliant course to go on, wasn't it? Thanks to Sue and Helen for all the help this week, because I think you've really you've done what you were there for with us anyway, and I know for everyone else on the course absolutely loved it. Brilliant. And I think you really would have made influence the way I treat from now, hopefully. I hope I'm looking forward to getting into clinic.
I can't wait. I just feel lots more confident to just get stuck in and be creative and just try things, and we were really excited about that.
Like, I think what we need to work on now is, like we were saying, how from the previous courses, from all the experience we've gained from work, from all the in-services and stuff like that, we've got lots of tools and lots of ideas of treatment positions, postural sets, and where to place our hands and all this. But now going on these type of courses, because I can't wait to go on more.
Oh, definitely.
Hopefully.
Yeah, it's made me really want to go on another one.
It, like, every time we go on something like this, it just tweaks it a bit more, and it helps us, like, to understand, like, how can we use these tools better? Like whatever we're doing now, I'm sure, like, when we know that we do make a difference to people's movement, like, in a positive way, but, like, how can we do it better, and how can we do it faster, and how can we make it more meaningful and stuff? So it's like, I'm excited, because I think, like, we've just shifted a bit of a gear, like, with that, and we can carry on doing that. And we're pleased we went on together.
Really nice.
That was a unique kind of treat, like, for us, because it meant that we could bounce off each other and,
Yeah.
and like this even
And
is helping.
yeah, exactly. And the learning and discussions haven't ended with that. That's going to continue with seeing our patients, and we can reflect back with each other, can't we?
Yeah.
Which would be really nice.
Definitely.
And go over things and practice. Work proximally.
You're so good.
Good. Thank you.
Bit of cheese. Bye.